Hi, welcome to
Hey,
the I'm Reverend Rich. This is Reverend,
Reverend Paul. Hello.
and we have a special guest. We're only about prayer and earnest
An
homes.
affirmative prayer, spiritual
There
mind
we go.
treatment. That's all there is.
And we have our special guest today, Reverend Dr. Marion Hoyt.
Maureen Hoyt.
See, I messed it up again. That's okay. So, Maureen, what we're going to have you do is, if you don't mind praying us in, please.
Oh, I'd love to do that. Thanks. So let's go within for just a moment and know that as we go to that perfect place of peace within, there is that part of us that has never been violated, that knows nothing outside that pure essence of spirit. And spirit has identified itself today by means of each one of us on this broadcast, whether in person or on some other in some other country. We are here knowing that this is a conversation made in heaven, as Ernest Holmes would say, that it is
Mhm.
God listening to God and God speaking to God. And so that I know our time today together is fruitful, unequivocally fruitful, that we move into the consciousness of receptivity, that you may not believe everything you hear today, but you may hear something that you already believe. And so I know for each one of us that we move into the consciousness of doing the best we can with what we have at our disposal today, knowing that spirit is the underpinning for everything we say, everything we do, and everything we feel. So, from this place in consciousness, I know that today's broadcast is already done and complete in the mind of God, and we're simply here to fill in the details. As I
Mhm.
release my word to the law, it is done and complete in the mind of God, as we say together, and so
And
it
so
And
it
is.
so it
is.
is. Wonderfully done. Well, Reverend Dr. Say it for me, Paul.
Maureen Hoyt.
Maureen Hoyt is an ordained religious science minister and was awarded both a doctor in religious science and a doctor in divinity for exceptional service with the Centers for Spiritual Living. And you have a book, I think, right?
I do. It's at the publisher right now. It's called Off the Yellow Brick Road, and the subtitle is And Back On Again. And it's
Nice.
a series of stories because Dorothy, whenever they got off the yellow brick road, they got into trouble. And whenever we move out of that consciousness of pure spirit, we often find ourselves with dilemmas. And all the stories in there are relative to that. At the end of each story, there's a lesson and a blessing.
Mhm.
And so I can't wait to find out when it's going to finally get published. And I will
Well,
let you know.
I'm looking forward to that. I just wanted to make sure we plug. Is there anything else that our audience should know about you?
Well, I'm also writing a novel, which is a work in progress. And the subplot is a sex trafficking, pedophilia. It's as Reverend Patrick Arbula said, we all have a dark side. Better we should use our imagination in a novel than act it out in real time. So
Mhm.
Mm,
that's what I did. And so I put it aside when Jeffrey Epstein got arrested and jailed because it would be art imitating life or life imitating art. So I set it aside. I
mm,
already know the ending, but some people would say that I'm taking my cues from the news. So
mm.
Mhm.
that's just set aside right now. So that's what I'm doing. I also I'm editor in chief of Imaginews. It's a magazine that comes out 4 times a year, and it's put out by Imagery International. And it's about using imagery to work with people in a psychological and spiritual aspect. So there you go.
And
That's
where can people find that?
actually, if you go on their website, www.imageryinternational.org, you will find their I guess you would call it e-copy of the magazine on the
Mm.
website. So you can get a hard copy if you contribute to the magazine. And we do take unsolicited contributions, and we're doing the four quadrants for this year. This one, the spring one, is prosperity. Next is creative expression, then relationships, and then work, career. So,
Mm.
it's an interesting job.
Sounds like it. Well,
Yes.
your work can also be found at your personal website, which is maureenhoyt.com. Did I say that right,
Yeah.
Paul?
Yep.
Yes.
Yay.
Yes.
And that's spelled
Yes.
MAUREENHOYT.com for folks that
Yes.
like to have things spelled out, like me sometimes.
Yes. It is. It's kind of being reconstructed, but most of the things that I do, and some of the talks I've given are on there.
Mm.
I just hired somebody recently um, to help me get. I've got hacked on Facebook to help me with that, and she also went into my website and started giving me some help. And I'm now the webmaster. I don't have somebody who controls that, where I get to do my own stuff.
Well, I know a good company, Alchemy Computer, that might be able to help you with that.
Well, really?
I have a degree in it. I have a degree in computer science. And I've been doing it for 25 years. So if I can be of service, let me know.
Well,
See,
I may just call upon you.
see how science of mind works is that it's circular. You put out to the
Yes,
universe, hey, I could use a couple more clients, and hey, it comes back to you completely. What
it
do you
does.
think, Paul?
Well, we're in the
It's
one mind
almost,
always.
yes, it's almost like it's entrepreneurial in nature.
It is. It is. It's as one person said. He says it's the philosophy or the religion that serves yourself, but it also serves the universe.
Yes.
Mm.
And the law of attraction works incredibly.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
how did I not know that you did this for a living and you have a degree in it?
Well, I don't really talk about it too much on our show because this is only about prayer.
Yes, okay, let's do that then.
So,
So,
Maureen, what tangible results have you seen through your use of prayer?
Oh gosh. If even if I mentioned half the things, um,
What's one that really sticks out for you?
well, um, I would say, gosh, so many things. I guess mostly it is for me in finances.
hmm,
I grew up in a household that was slim pickings. Let's put it that way.
Mm.
Growing up, but I didn't embrace that idea, whereas my siblings did, and they've all had money problems over the years. I have never ever had a money problem. I think the one thing that got me was taking Edwin Gaines' course
Mm.
in tithing. And when I began to tithe, I had small children, and I had a daycare. And so, I began tithing on the $400 a week I got for the four kids that I had in daycare. And then it just escalated every time I put it into mind or did a spiritual mind treatment about wanting to generate additional income. It shows up. And the whole basis in truth for that is surrendering my fear of financial insecurity to one
Mm.
of, I'm not going to say opulence, because it's very often money in, money out, but the money is always there. I mean,
hmm,
it's like I live in an abundant and prosperous universe. And if I believe that God is the source and substance of my supply, whatever avenue it shows up, it always shows up.
Mm.
So, and unexpected avenues. That's sometimes what I am stunned by how that works sometimes. And why am I surprised? you know, however many years, almost 45 years in religious science, I should not be surprised anymore. But it's not, it's like delight. It
Mm.
isn't, oh my God, you won't believe what happened to me. Well, no, open the envelope and there's the check. You know, that's that's just the outcome of doing spiritual mind treatment.
So you've been in this for 45 years, I think you said.
Actually, I started in 1981, so it's probably a little bit more than that. But now I didn't become a practitioner at the from the get go. I actually started going to church because of my daughter. She had a little friend whose grandmother would watch them periodically after school, and they would the grandmother would play dead and they would tickle her and she would come alive. And one day they tickled her and she didn't come alive. She the mom of the other little girl, Ashley, called me and said, "You need to come and get Heather." And we had this 4 years old. We had this conversation about death and dying. And I thought, I'm not good at this. I need to go back to church. So that was
So
the start of it.
so the I'm trying to get to the question where you evolved over time is because you've done this for a number of years, and how have your prayers changed over time
Mm.
that you've seen? That's what we're looking at here.
I I think they're more practical
Okay, in what sense?
from the sense that I'm not treating for stuff and things. I'm treating for the consciousness of receptivity to the stuff and things. And
Mm,
Mm.
doing, we get people who come and they want a band aid on a broken arm. They can't pay their mortgage that month. And so get me enough money to pay my mortgage. Well, I would say, well, what would happen if there was more than enough? And so there's that kind of turning a client's thinking to possibility instead
Mm.
of fear. And it is sometimes it's a difficult job to switch that thinking. Change your thinking, change your life is one of the mantras that we use. But some people have it's with have thinking that goes with emotion and intensity and repetition over so many years. It's a tough
Mm.
thing to do. It seems so simple, but it's not easy all the time.
because
So
they've sort of practiced that mindset that they have, and they've gotten real good at it. That lack
yes,
mindset.
that's exactly right. So I asked them at the outset, not to do an affirmation, I am prosperous and have more money than I need to live on, say, for instance. No. How about saying, I am willing to be prosperous? That's like a stepping
Mm.
stone to a shift in consciousness. Okay, if you're willing, the willingness comes from within. It's not motivational, it's not coming from anywhere out there, it's an inside job. So I often start out with, well, what are you willing to do?
Mm.
And we see the results. And that's a time tested for myself
Mm.
thought process. It has to start with me, it has to start with each one of us. And we can then convey that to other people.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because prayer is always done for ourselves and then ripples out to the universe.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how it works in this philosophy. We're not talking about other philosophy; we're just talking about ours. I was thinking when you were saying that is that there is a prayer, but each practitioner is also trained to sit down and map things out with you. A practitioner session where it's an hour or half an hour, depending on how the practitioner wants to do that. Do you do that in your own practice as I'm sure you do as a reverend, but you counsel people. But each
Yes.
practitioner does that too, and each of us is a practitioner that is first a
Mm.
practitioner, then a reverend.
So the most rewarding part for me is coaching and counseling. I took the training with the Academy for Coaching Excellence in Sacramento. with Dr. Maureen. She's a PhD in psychology, and she blended uh, her coaching academy with an ontological approach, the qualities of being. And I set the coaching arena every day using that model that I learned from her 25 years ago. And so for me, it's the coaching and counseling, spiritual counseling. There are times when I'm out of my league, and there's a deeply psychological problem that the person has. I do recommend that they go to therapy
Hmm.
and then come back, and we'll work on the spiritual aspect of what needs to be done. But sometimes psychology explains, spirituality heals.
This is
Hmm.
true. I can attest to that on some of the things that I've researched. We had it's interesting that you brought up the coaching, because we had on show 41 we had Billy Francis, which you probably know her. If you don't, then you should, because she's pretty cool too, just like yourself. The coaching aspect of it that a lot of people are doing inside of this philosophy. It's interesting that you brought that up. Paul, would you like to get the next question?
Yeah, can you bring us through how you start your day in prayer?
Yeah, sure. So I took TM years ago, mostly because I had this moment when I was meditating. I hadn't been trained in meditation. I was just doing it myself. And I had this moment where I thought I sort of left my body for a minute, and I got scared. And I thought, wow, what if I didn't come back? But because I had been reading about the Buddhist monks that when they got ready to make their transitions, they just meditated themselves into oblivion. And I thought, I don't want to do that. So I took TM. I got trained in transcendental meditation. I mean, it was the most profoundly spiritual. Ew, gosh, I didn't realize I was going to get all wonky about it, but it was the most profoundly spiritual experience I've ever had.
Hmm.
Anyway, so that's how I start my day. Then I do my prayer work. I set the coaching arena every day. There are 4 questions I ask. I have all the qualities of being, and I choose five for each day. And the first question is all you need to know: who am I willing to be in order to produce an
Mhm.
extraordinary result out of this
Hmm.
interaction? And so I choose 5 things. And sometimes, as the human experience gets in the way, I have to go back to those qualities of being it sometime
Hmm.
during the day and remind myself, okay, you're not in that place right now. How can you get that back? So very often it's just noticing, and then going back to what I started out with in the morning. So that's my morning practice completely. I do treatment for anyone who asks me to do treatment until they tell me to stop. And it's not treatment for each person specific. It's about a shift in consciousness for all of those people who are on my list for the day. So that's where I am. And probably the only times I did not do that would be times when I was in the hospital or something. And that's like 3 times in my whole adult life.
Hmm.
So I practice that on a daily basis. Yes.
And then your steps in prayer, do you do a 3-step, a 5-step, a 7-step?
I
What's your
always do a 5 step. I like the words, and knowing, seriously, God doesn't hear the words necessarily, but it hears the feeling behind the words.
Hmm.
So even if you do the worst treatment, like the shortest treatment, I can tell you, driving down the freeway, you don't get to close your eyes and do a prayer when you see a car. So, two short treatments. This God is, this isn't, that's that. That's a treatment, And then the other one, hell's bells, all's well.
I
So
like
I like both of those for short treatments when you're on the freeway. And sometimes, on the freeway, there's a little moment where I might have engaged with someone I shouldn't really have engaged with, or I wasn't paying attention. And I do have to do the same thing for myself. So it's
Hmm.
not
So
just
that's
about
like
other people. It's me.
That's like when you're triggered for a prayer. That's one of our questions that we had is, what do you do when you're triggered? And I think you just answered that for us, is that you just do a quick prayer and it
Hell's
changes for
bells,
you.
everything's well.
Yeah.
Bells, everything. Well,
Well, and God is, this isn't that sad. And I could relate to you. One of the worst car accidents I ever saw was a car that was decapitated, the roof of the car, because the guy went underneath a flatbed, big flatbed truck. And I actually thought to myself, no one could possibly have survived that. And yet, in the Thousand Oaks newspaper the next day, it was "Miracle Car Accident" was the headline, because the guy
Wow.
knew he was going to run into it, and he laid down on the seat. He just took his hands off the steering wheel and laid down on the seat. And when the firefighters came with the jaws of life, they got him out with barely a scratch on him. So, we can see with the eye, but we know with the heart.
Hmm.
And so there you go.
that's wonderful. So the gosh, I'm sort of taking that in a little bit. Laid down on the chair and just let.
The accident happened because he
Yeah.
couldn't stop it, obviously. They
I'm
interviewed him.
Yeah, I was writing a book on some of those moments that you're like, okay, it could have been one way, but have been another way.
Yeah.
And it's uncanny how, at least for myself, because I can only really speak for myself when I'm talking, is that if you took one road, you know what you're going to get. If you took the other road, just happenstance that things turned out better.
Yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
I have great respect for people who commute.
Mm.
I did that for almost 8 months when Reverend Mike had a cancer diagnosis, and I went back 4 days a week to the Granada Hills CSL.
Let's
And yes,
So
sorry.
yeah, I visited your church over the Granada Hills. Yeah.
Yes,
Anyway, it was wonderful. There's a good community there, a lot of nice people, and I was very welcomed. So that's some place that we should check out. And just a little plug for the site, Glendale CS. So, anyways, I just want to make sure that the folks at home know that it's a nice place. You go there all the time, though, right?
I do, but we're candidating for a new minister as Reverend Mike is retiring. And probably I will disappear myself from the church for about 6 months after the new minister comes, to have that person get their sea legs
Hmm.
without any undue influence by somebody who might have a few control issues.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
understandable.
that
Well,
would.
that's the one thing we can count on in life is change. So the let's go to our next question, if we will, Paul.
How would you explain our philosophy to someone who doesn't understand it?
Well, it depends on their. If walking around carrying my soapbox, and that kind of thing. I worked in an office one time where the owner asked me to cut back on the proselytizing. Well, I wasn't really proselytizing. I was so excited about, this was probably
Hmm.
84, 85. I was so excited about finding the science of mind that I wanted everybody to know about it. But anyway, the thing about it is the classic elevator talk. You've got 25
Hmm.
seconds from the first floor to the 10th floor, or however long it is. And to be able to say, like, I had my badge on one day, and I was waiting for get some lunch, my church badge, and somebody said, "Well, what is that?"
Hmm.
And I said, "Well, it's a combination of spiritual psychology." I used that, and I said, they're in short, their basic premise is change your thinking, change your life. And that may
Hmm.
sound simple and it may sound like it's easy, but sometimes it's less easy than you think it is. But what we do, well, do you believe in God? Yes, of course we believe in God. Um, We believe in whatever you call it, God, spirit, the force, higher power, whatever it is. I would just, I could go on and on and on. And then if I see the eyes glazing over, then I realize I don't have it. But I've either said too much or I have an uninterested audience. But, it's so interesting how um, you can infiltrate certain things wherever we go. There's
Mm.
somebody who's ready to listen to what we have to say, and um, you know, I'm also part of AA and NA. I'm a child of the '60s, so go figure. Uh, how stuff like that happened. That was then, and this is now. Clean and sober. Um, I've essentially got all of that handled, and I think the science of mind was the natural segue from the 12-step program.
Mm.
Even though I believe in 12-step as a starting point for just about anybody. So I could go on and on and on, but when I have a receptive audience, I do go on and on and on. Maybe there should be a 12 step for ministers who go on and on and on, anonymous, kind of thing. So, yeah, a lot of people who walk in off the street in Granada Hills, when they see the bookstore, they see Spirit Center for Spiritual Living. We're on Meetup. I think in the last 3 months we have more people coming to us from Meetup than just about any other way. It's a
Mm.
philosophy of attraction and not promotion. You know, somebody comes up to you, Rich, and says, "I want what you have, and I'm willing to go to any lengths to get what you have." Boy, get that person and just embrace them because they've already made that first step. So change your life, change your thinking, change your life.
Just a real quick thing in our
Mm.
philosophy, we don't bang on doors, we don't beg you to come back or anything. It's if it works for you, use it. I mean, this is a open philosophy, open at the top as we call it.
Yeah.
Hey, the what is your favorite Ernest Holmes book besides The Science of Mind?
Oh, I could answer that so easily. Creative Mind and Success. I actually
Ooh,
have a first edition original copy with the
really
cover on it. I mean, the
nice.
cover's a little tattered, I must admit, and somebody has drawn a few lines through it. It's not pristine, but it is. It's almost like if I hold that book, I'm I can become the female version of Ernest Holmes. It's a book I read every year, and the other one that I like is 365. It's
Mm.
Mm.
the daily, and that's just there's so much comfort in the having that daily read.
Well, we're at the 2 minute mark, or we're shotgunning the questions now. What is your favorite Ernest Holmes reference? I mean,
My favorite Ernest Holmes reference is
or quote, if you will.
a quote. Um, it's in the beginning part of the past the Roman numeral part, the first four chapters, where he's talking about spiritual mind treatment, where he says, "Hope is the subtle illusion and the unconscious compromise." And then he goes on to
Mm.
say, "And yet hope is better than despair." So he does.
Mm.
It's not about hoping something will happen because when I was first a practitioner, I would do my treatment in the morning and walk down the hallway and say, "Well, I hope that works," and I would
Yeah.
have to turn around and go back and redo the treatment again to 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 um, to make it cemented in my own thinking.
Mm.
So, yeah, hope is the subtle illusion and the unconscious compromise. And when we're hoping for something, even though it's a well-meaning thing, uh, we can get tangled up in the hoping and never realizing what we want to demonstrate.
Yeah, there's a huge difference between knowing something and hoping for something.
Boy,
Yeah.
boy. And I know for probably both of you, when you do a treatment and you know the hair on your arms is standing on
Right
end.
now, yeah.
Yeah, I just I the first time I felt that, I thought, this is what he was talking about, you know? Yeah,
It's
yeah.
interesting is it's all individualized. You're even in this philosophy, you go to a certain point. Because I remember going through practitioner school and going, "Oh my God, this works."
Yeah.
So I took
uh,
prac training twice. I just want to say this because the first 2 years I was catatonic, and I was terrified to get up and speak in front of anyone. I know we've left that part of me behind. I get it.
Mm.
So, but I mean, it's just like that's why I wanted to be people to understand that practitioner training is like personal growth and practitioner training. You know,
so, when do you release a prayer into law for you? I mean, you get to the fifth step normally because you said you do 5 steps. Do you release it when it's in your mind, or do you release it knowing it's already done, or just I release it into law and then you let go of it? Then some people
okay.
let go.
So here's a semantic thing.
Okay,
Being a journalism minor with a focus on editing and proofreading, we don't. You don't breathe. I don't release the treatment into the law because we're never out of the law. I
Mm.
release the treatment to the law. That's when I know it's complete and finished. Because releasing it into the law presumes that we can be out of the law.
Oh, good
That's
point.
just not accurate, And when I came to that conclusion, every treatment I did changed so dramatically that it was almost like a whirlwind demonstration for whoever I was treating for, whether it was for myself or someone else who had employed me to do that. So, yeah, the thing about the science of mind is it's a universal concept,
Mm.
and some of the abstract stuff gets, people don't get it. But if you have a really good teacher of the science of mind, and I know you guys did. I did too. It makes there's such a difference in how we approach life,
Mm.
how life approaches us in return. We're moving toward a demonstration, and the universe moves toward us, and we meet in the field of all possibility.
ooh, I love that.
I know, right? There's a lot of takeaways today.
I
Yeah.
know. Well, let's go with our last question, Paul. Audience
Uh,
question.
Yeah, what takeaway would you want our viewers to know about this today?
That there, well, there used to be a TV show called There Is a Way. It was
Hmm.
out of Palm Springs years ago, in the early 80s. And I religiously listened to that show, no pun intended, because I knew that there was something of value. That when we learn that we are essentially, like the poem says, we're the masters of our fate and the captains of our souls. And that is how I teach the science of mind, that
Mm.
you have not control, but you have the power of decision, like Raymond Charles Barker said, is a wonderful thing, except that there has to be action after the power. You decide to do something, but you have to take action. It's like the old joke, there are 5 frogs sitting on the log. One decides to jump off. How many frogs are on the log? 5. Deciding and doing are two
Mm.
different things. So, but the science of mind teaches us how to make proper decisions and how to implement those decisions for the highest and best of ourselves and the other people concerned. So I guess that's the takeaway. This gives us, it's an instruction on how to live a more powerful, a more heart centered, and a more abundant life. And
Mm.
that would be it.
And that reminded me of Ernest Holmes when he said, when we pray, we don't treat and move our feet, we treat and then we get inspired to move our feet. And once you're
Yes,
inspired, you're so compelled that you can't say no.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we thank Dr. Reverend Maureen Hoyt. Did I say that right?
Yay.
Thanks
For
for
being
having
on the show. I'm Reverend Rich. This is Reverend.
Reverend Paul at IamSpiritAlive.com.
I am Prayers Radio, and she can be reached again at www.maureenhoyt.com. MaureenHoyt.com. We got to make
Yes.
sure we get that plug in for you because that book is coming out, and you all want
Yep.
to buy it.
Pretty quick. Pretty quick.
So everybody say bye.
Well, we're going to do
Bye.
invocation.
Oh, that's right. See, that's why we have Paul and he has me because we remind each other. That's why we're prayer partners.
Yeah. Got to pray us out.
Pray us out.
Are you asking me?
Oh, yes,
Oh,
please.
yes,
Oh, yes.
please.
All right. Let's go.
Okay.
All right. Knowing that the power and presence of Spirit right here and right now is claiming a day of energy, a day of vitality, a day of joy and celebration for just simply the idea of being alive. And so I know that as we move out of this consciousness we're in currently to going about the business of the day, anything and everything that comes our way is a demonstration of God in action. And so we begin to pay attention on a level that we've never paid attention before, knowing that every single person who shows up in our lives is our coach on some level, is trying to tell us something about who we are and what we can become. And so I just simply release my word to the activity of the law of mind, knowing that as I do, God is in the mix, all is well, as we say together, and so it
And
is.
so it is.
So
Thank
just
you
we're
so
gonna
Yay.
much.
play our
Thank you, Maureen.
we're gonna play our outro, and just remember subscribe to us on your 19 different platforms that we're on, and stay for the final part here. And I'll meet you on the other side because we do have an after action show.
Your